the resolutions in front of us. We've got the Northridge Special Assessment. Probably cover that one first, Darrell.
So
I waited until you weren't looking and then.
all right, so we've been working on this project for some time now. This involves the Northridge West project that we've talked about, kind of the last missing link of the Northridge corridor, and going through the process of establishing basically a single lot special assessment district that would pay for the construction of that at some point when the property were to sell. So I know Jeff Sluggett presented to you previously, kind of explained the process. This is a multi-step process where we have to go adopt several resolutions and have a couple public hearings before we can confirm this role. So this is the actual third resolution. A couple weeks ago, you adopted resolution number 1 and number 2, setting tonight as a public hearing. So the resolution, after you have the public hearing, the resolution that is on the agenda basically establishes a draft special assessment role, which we'd consider at a future meeting that needs to be publicized and everything, much like this public hearing was, and just confirms that you want to continue to move forward with this process, and you agree that the project is important, and everything else that's in the resolution that you've essentially seen before establishes the cost of the improvements and what those improvements entail. So I know I'm kind of brushing over this, but I know we've talked about it several times, and again, this is step number 3 of the process. And there is only one lot as part of this special assessment district, which is really the Schwallier, existing Schwallier piece.
Okay. Commissioners, any questions on this? It's multi-steps of the process, and this is just about to the finish line for us.
And just to add, I know Sarah sent out a revised agenda today with the revised resolution, so there was just a minor change in there at the end of, it's really paragraph number 2 under the now therefore it be resolved. There was some wording that referred to the estimate of the project, just that it does not exceed that amount. So that was the only change on that revised resolution.
And Mayor, I didn't add it onto the resolution, but the next meeting will be March 23rd, and that'll be another public hearing for the final part of this project.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, and that's what needs to go in those blanks that are in the resolution right now. So. And the role that we have there is just a draft, as you can see, because our ordinance requires that a draft be on file in the clerk's office until it's adopted. So that's why you have the kind of the draft role of what that would look like, and that's what you would be considering at the meeting on March 23rd.
Awesome. Okay, seeing no other questions on that, let's jump, Scott, while we have you here, and this is on the ordinance, the first reading tonight of ordinance 20-512, and it's the ordinance to amend zoning at 4346 Leonard Street Northwest. You want this one? Okay.
It's okay with you? Bear with me for 1 second here. There's an existing building that's proposed to stay that actually has a curb cut on Leonard Street that was improved with the road reconstruction. So that's a fixed point. There are 2 driveways on M11, the northerly of which would go away, the southerly of which would become right in, right out. So we had a long discussion at the Planning Commission that I thought was really healthy, and what the Planning Commission did was they split the CPUD process, which the ordinance allows, So they recommended unanimously that the property be rezoned to commercial planned unit development. The project is to put a gas station within the blank space south of the bargain store. The bargain store is not part of this application, unfortunately. It'd be nice if it was, because obviously you want the corner just for maneuvering, and traditionally gas stations work better on corners. But that's not part of this application. So I just wanted to clarify that. But Planning Commission did recommend the rezoning. They tabled any reviews or decisions on the plan. Remember, there are two series of plans for a planned unit development. There's a preliminary plan and a final plan. They didn't even get to the final plan yet, and they tabled the preliminary. Before Planning Commission meeting last week, Wednesday, we got together with MDOT, this developer, and both Vissers to the north, and we agreed on what's called an access management plan to make sure that driveways are aligning for both projects on both sides of the street, and then to determine what the design will be for driveways onto M11. So that's a box that we checked. That was one of the reasons to table the project. From a staff standpoint, we're fine with the rezoning going forward because there's enough teeth in the ordinance to allow the Planning Commission to tune the two site plans. And right now we have those scheduled for March 18th for preliminary plan and final plan. On March 4th, we have the applicant coming in to give an update to the Planning Commission on the Access Management Committee, and then also some design specifications that the Planning Commission Chair wanted to talk about. So what you have in front of you is a little bit unusual. This is the first time we've ever, that I'm aware of, separated the zoning from the plan for a PUD. It specifically states that's allowed in the ordinance, and that's what the Planning Commission decided to do. Zoning is a legislative action. You folks have final say on that. Any action here, unless the rezoning is denied tonight, we do 2 readings for rezoning, and then there's a publication. So we did say to the applicants, we're more than willing to keep you rolling on the Planning Commission side of things, but everything is really dependent on the zoning of the lot. As it's currently zoned for C3, gas stations are not allowed. So that's why we recommended, for a variety of reasons, if you want to do a gas station on this site, if you want to keep the existing building, we really need to have the flexibility of a planned unit development. And the city on the backside can do some things with access and landscaping and signage to make the site look good, I guess, for lack of a better term. So that's why you have the rezoning request in front of you today. See the applicant in the audience too. And we'll take any questions.
Any other color from the Planning Commission? I know this went through unanimously, but there was some dialogue and discussion around it.
Yeah, I think to be clear, I guess the big item that caused us to separate the rezoning from the site plan itself was just the work group that we had on the Planning Commission side to further discuss how we're managing access to M11, specifically with this site and the site on the north side of Leonard. So that's kind of where that came in. But I think that we all on the Planning Commission felt that the use here that's proposed, or rezoning to CPUD specifically, fits with the direction that we feel we are going with the master plan. I think that we felt comfortable with the layout in general, and it was just a matter of having further discussion on those details, which we kind of address in final area site plan step of the process, which are those access points. But again, we did feel comfortable with the specifically rezoning to CPUD and that a commercial use is appropriate for this site with what we're moving towards on the master plan side.
Commissioners, comments, questions? We'll have a public hearing at the 7 o'clock meeting that'll be open to members of the audience at that point in time. But as far as the commissioners go, any dialogue, any questions around this for either Frank, our applicant, Jason's out in the audience, or even Steve from the PC side? Dan, I see the lights lit.
I got my light
right
on.
away.
Nobody's home, no. I see the drive on Leonard Street, and so, Frank, I look at it as a win-win if you're aligning this drive with the one on the north side. You know, something's gonna happen to the property. It's gonna get developed somehow, some way into something, so. I see good things here. Is there things that you would like to be different, or that would be, I mean, I see traffic flow, so, and, you know, you can get to the light on Leonard Street and whatnot, so. I guess, I see it as a win-win unless I hear something from you or Steve.
Steve, I'm going to take first shot. Quick items. The write-in, write-out on M11 is a good idea. MDOT's agreed to that. The applicants agreed to that. That's a lesson learned, good improvement. The Leonard Street driveway, a fixed point. Lewis Farms has agreed to move their driveway, which is just on paper. So that alignment is a good thing. What we're trying to do is quantify the need for a left turn phase southbound on M11 from Leonard Street. So I think MDOT is opening to that idea. So then we need to have a vehicle to get that done, to get that paid for. So proportionately, the traffic study for this site and the site to the north will quantify their traffic impact, which is based on their driveways. So we're building a case to get that left signal put in. It's still going to be dependent on MDOT. MDOT can just say no. But I think we're trying to build a case that it's probably indicated now, and we certainly will need it if this site, and especially Lewis Farms to the north, builds out. So that's kind of the strategy behind this, which is why we're willing, overall, the plan is fine. The Planning Commission Chair has some issues with some setbacks to the pumps. I think that's why I advise these folks don't go too far into your construction design, because you want to make sure that the Planning Commission is comfortable with the general layout. But if that can be overcome, then yeah, I think the site's an improvement. And we don't have many gas stations going north on M11. So I'm sure this is why these folks want to go here too. So I think everything aligns on here. It's just we're building a case piece by piece, and we're fine with this piece of the puzzle.
Thank you. And I see, you know, things start happening on the north of Leonard Street, it's gonna be,
Right.
all four corners are gonna have businesses, so, thanks, Frank.
So I read through the minutes, and I really appreciate the discussion, and I understand that tonight we're not really talking about the actual design of the site. But I do have something I'm looking at here. I could use some clarification on there. And that's where the bargain store is, the existing building. That is a right, that's not a right-in, right-out, is it? Yeah. So is there any way to stop people from shortcutting, trying to turn left there and get to the gas station? I mean, is there going to be like a little wall or a fence or?
So, no. The way that, so I assume that we're gonna look for cross-access between these sites, right? And so you'll be able to utilize those intersections and come across to the gas station. There's nothing prohibiting that movement. I think in a perfect world, we would be getting an application from the Just Bargain site collectively with this site, and then we could have better management of those intersections, but the way it's drawn up right now, we only have the authority to review over the gas station site, and as much as we'd love to get those intersections further away from that signal, we kind of review what we've got.
I wasn't sure because that area is grayed out, so, yeah. Okay, thanks.
Any other questions, commissioners? You're good there. Okay, we will have a public hearing on this. Do we have a need to Jason, if it's all right, we'll keep it till 7 o'clock in case there's questions for the 7 o'clock meeting. Get through that then. And hey, before I forget, Sarah, would you just make a note? I've noticed in the planning and ZBA meetings, when somebody's presenting up there, it did, thank you, okay. Because that's the,
I was just told after the planning commission last Wednesday.
okay, thank you. And it was more noticeable on when you're listening to it online and you couldn't hear the piece, so awesome. Okay. All right, so we've covered the ordinance to amend zoning. We'll have that reading coming up in the 7 o'clock hour. Is there any questions on the bills at this point?
I went through them twice and said, Daryl's spending my money wisely, so I left it at that.
He was disappointed he didn't have anything to contribute.
Because Dan DeVries gives you good descriptions.
Yes.
He does a great job.
All right, well, let's roll the dice here at 6:48. We'll start to our left from the city manager's comments, see if we can't squeeze in what we can here before 7 o'clock.
Well, I'll keep mine short and sweet. Continuing to work on the budget. We had finance meeting a week or so ago, so just kind of refining that. I'm hoping to schedule a finance meeting probably towards the end of March sometime to talk about budget amendments for current year and CIP projects, and then we'll just continue rolling through the budget process and how the commission wants to handle that. And I did send you, I think, sadly, that email today about Mary Kay's father passed away over the weekend, so thoughts and prayers to her and her family. So that's all I have.
Just briefly, Tricia Anderson started as our new planning director. I think she is going to be an excellent fit. She's already taken charge of a couple things down in CDD, which is great. In the interim, for the foreseeable future, we'll be doing kind of a divide and conquer thing. So she's getting her feet wet on some of the industrial site plans that are coming in. STS is putting another addition on 3 Mile at Wilson, North Wilson. So that's a good plan for her to get into. And then there's another building for blaze fire protection that's going to be proposed off on Northridge. Those are good plans for her to get familiar with the code on. And then I'll continue to help and go to meetings, particularly the ones that are a little bit more complex. Don't expect someone to walk in the door and have institutional knowledge for 10 years about how all these pieces fit together. So that's where we will continue moving forward, and she's doing really well. So I'll keep you all apprised.
Great hire. Well done.
Well, we had mineral mining and Scott and Frank, they can clunk heads once in a while, but if you're out there in the audience and you're running the mine, you may get the rules and regulations explained to you in 2 different ways, but they're still for the good of the city, and so we got things going there pretty much, but we got one coming back, but other than that, we did good, so yeah, that's about all I got, so thank you.
Thank you.
I attended a personnel meeting as well as a finance meeting. I thought they both went very well. Really pleased with Dan DeVries and the way he puts the budget together. I think he does a phenomenal job. That's all I have.
Thank you.
I also attended the finance meeting about 2 weeks ago, week and a half ago.
Good, thank you. All right, Commissioner Gladwell.
I was at Mineral Mining Review Board with Commissioner Kent, and yeah, I thought it was great. I thought Scott and Frank and everybody really did a great job of explaining, the situations and what we're looking for and how some things have been going over the years. So it was very informative. And I was also at Traffic Committee, and there's a few items that I think we're going to bring before the commission, so I'll need to talk to Daryl about how, what those are and getting those on the agenda. So you'll hear more from Traffic Committee soon. And then I wanted to let you know that I will not be here at the March 16th meeting. I believe it's a work
I
session.
think we're going to cancel it.
Oh, okay.
discussion on the 16th probably, because we have nothing for the agenda at this
Oh.
point.
Well, then.
So we'll see you on the, we'll see each other on the 23rd. We haven't got to that point yet. That's on the.
Well,
so,
I'll send an email reminder. I just thought
Okay.
I'd mention it while I
We're
was
good.
thinking about it tonight, so. And I think that's all I got. Thanks.
Thank you.
Only meeting for me to report on besides the finance meeting, which has been touched on. We had the planning commission meeting on February 19th. And the Lincoln Lawns project, as you may have heard, was withdrawn, so much to the excitement of members of the audience. Other issues, we had a rezoning for Kenowa Hills Public Schools, the Early Childhood Center, right? So there were two properties that are outlying that they're rezoning to match, so I'm guessing that sometime in the future we'll be seeing some type of expansion there. And then the other one was a Consumers Credit Union final area site plan, so that'd be the first of the outlots from the West Town project for those commercial properties. So look forward to seeing more development over there.
Yep. Thank you.
The only thing I have is that we're busy with the election, winding down fast and furious. An interesting tidbit from the Bureau of Elections is they currently have a 73% increase in statewide in absentee ballots due to the no reason absentee compared to this time in 2016 for the presidential primary. So that's what's showing you how big of increase difference it's making. So in 5 years, we'll be all no reason, hopefully. That's the goal.
All right.
All vote by mail.
All right. The only thing I have to touch on is you may or may not have seen this in the news media in the last few days, but there is a company called Bear Down Logistics that was basically the Amazon drivers that we see at the Meyer gas station on Walker Avenue. Literally, as we had a certified letter come into the city, I think it wasn't even 24 hours, it hit less than that. It hit the news media quickly before we even had time to digest it. So basically, that logistics firm, which I believe is based out of Chicago, looked in the background of it. I think the Business Journal already picked it up, and TV 13 did, but they'll be closing the Walkent location on April 13th. It's about 110 positions. They lost the logistics contract for the area, and I think there's 4 or 5 states affected. I can't remember the exact number. So you're going to see a lot less of the Amazon trucks at the Meyer gas station. I would say a lot less. So that was all I had. But literally from the time we were copied in on a letter that went to the state by requirement, and it wasn't even 24 hours, and the news media had picked up on it. So. Outside of that, Personnel Committee, one thing just I do want to give a spotlight. We had the 6-month review for our fire chief, and as he crosses that threshold in that new role, and appreciate all of the feedback, the detail in the feedback. It allowed the Personnel Committee to have a much more effective conversation with him. I just could not be more impressed, I think, on behalf of the Personnel Committee on the strategy that Dave is applying to just different areas of the department. So a lot of good things going on there, and we have 5 minutes if anybody would like to grab a cup of coffee or a quick bio break. All right, it's 7 o'clock. We'll go ahead and call our regular city commission meeting to order. I'd like to ask Commissioner Glanville to deliver the invocation, please.
Let us bow our heads and take a moment to reflect on the opportunity to serve the people of our city. And in that service, may we act with character and conviction, listen with understanding and goodwill, and speak with charity and restraint. May we be filled with the strength, courage, and wisdom necessary to be good stewards of the authority vested in us by our fellow community members. May we be mindful of the humanity and dignity of those who disagree with us, and treat all persons with grace. And finally, may we always be guided by the spirit of community, by the spirit of justice, and by the spirit of love.
If I could ask the audience, please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag
Could I ask the clerk to please call the roll?
Mayor Carey,
Present?
Commissioner Gilbert, Commissioner Kent,
Present.
Commissioner DeShane,
Present?
Commissioner Glanville,
Present.
and Commissioner Heisinger.
Present.
Thank you.
And next will be an approval of the absence for Commissioner Groders.
Make a motion to approve?
Motion Commissioner Gilbert, does that have support?
Support.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Approval passed. Next on the list is the approval of minutes from the February 10th, 2020 commission meeting minutes. I'll entertain a motion for approval.
I'll make a motion.
Commissioner DeShane, have support?
Support.
Support Commissioner Glanville. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Approval of the minutes. Next on the list will be opening up the public hearing, and this is on the Northridge Drive Special Assessment District. I'll entertain a motion to, I believe we have to open that part of the meeting, so entertain a motion to open that.
Make a motion to open the public hearing?
Support.
Motion Gilbert, support by Kent. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, we are open. Anybody wishing to speak on the Northridge Special Assessment District? Going once, going twice. Now we'll entertain a motion to close the hearing on the Northridge Special Assessment District.
I will make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll support.
Motion by Commissioner Gilbert, support by DeShane. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Public hearing is now closed. Next on the list is public comment on agenda items. Does anybody wish to speak on anything on the agenda this evening, outside of Sergeant Frank? All right. Seeing none, we'll move further to the presentations and proclamations part. Chief, you have the floor.
Good evening. Thank you for this opportunity. As I stand up here quite often and talk about the privilege to swear in new members of the agency, when I get a chance to promote one of the existing members, it's even a little bit more special for us. So with that information, I'll share with you who we got coming up to stand in front of you. Most of you, of course, know him. Been here 20 plus years, of course. But Jason comes to us, he's the second member from the corporal rank to be elevated to the next position of authority as a sergeant. He successfully completed and competed in the promotional process last year. This process was rather new and included a new written examination process requiring extensive studying and months and months and months of preparation. The process also includes multiple additional assessment components where the personal and professional qualities of the person is examined, resulting in identifying the candidates that are best prepared and postured to take on what I believe is one of the most critical assignments in our agency. As a sergeant, you are tasked with the responsibility of mentoring, molding, and leading our officers to one day stand here where we stand tonight. With the reputation and track record Jason has already established, I'm confident he will embrace this opportunity and flourish in his new supervisory role. Jason's assignment is filling a vacancy from a recent retirement late last year, and he is looking forward to leading a night shift here this weekend. And it's been 15 plus years since he worked nights, so he's starting to get in the mode. A little bit of background on Jason. Jason graduated from Kalamazoo Valley Community College Police Academy back in 1997. He started his law enforcement career as a seasonal Marine deputy for Ottawa County that same year. He hired in with us as a part-time police officer in November of 1997, and it was in March of 99 he was elevated to a full-time police officer. His additional duties include many, but a few significant ones. He's an original member of our department's honor guard, still serving 20 years later. He's a field training officer, a member of our department's tactical response team. He served as a court officer for the 59th District Court, and he was assigned to our Detective Bureau from 2011 until assigned as a patrol corporal in 2017. Jason is also a board member of the Trevor P. Slott Foundation, the organization dedicated and focused on ensuring that Officer Slott's service is never forgotten and his legacy continues within the agency and our community. Jason's also a consistent participant in the Police Unity Tour Bicycle Fundraising Initiative, where he donates his personal time to fundraising for first responders killed in the line of duty on behalf of the National Law Enforcement Officers Museum in Washington, D.C. While I was previewing Jason's personnel file, one would be impressed with the multitude of department awards, citizen letters of recognition, and the numerous notes of thanks from people he has encountered throughout his entire career. The letters and notes carry a common theme of selfless, compassionate service model displayed by Jason, whether it is assisting a stranded motorist alongside the road or performing life-saving aid to victims in distress. Jason definitely exemplifies the servant leadership model through his actions and attitude of putting those in need first. As equally impressive as to the attitude he takes with his work is his dedication and commitment to his family, with his wife Heather, children Maddie and Nicholas, who definitely serve as his motivation for that servant leadership philosophy he embraces. So with all those accolades, it is now my privilege to recognize and confer the authority of sergeant to Jason Frank as the newest member to an already stellar supervisory staff. So I'm going to have his family come on up while we recite the oath. Or you can video if you want. That's your call. Get you right here. Raise your right hand, please. I'm giving this one, sorry. Come on back. As a Walker Police Supervisor, you are to act as an official representative of our city and are required and trusted to work within the law. Your powers and duties as a police supervisor are conferred upon you by the city of Walker. Your fundamental duties include serving the community in addition to supervising and leading the personnel assigned to you. The expectations are that you should perform all of your duties impartially, without favor or affection or ill will, and without regard to status, sex, race, relation, political belief, or aspiration. That all citizens and officers alike will be treated equally with courtesy, consideration, and dignity. Do you swear to perform these duties?
Yes, I do.
Very good. Now, badge. I always forget what pocket I put it in. The official pinning is going to be conducted by his son, Nick. We've been practicing, so. There you go. Good work. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. Welcome, Sergeant Frank. Thank you.
Thank you. As the chief said, I started in 1997, and the reason I have the job is Deputy Chief Howe. I met him working a security job, and he told me that the city of Walker was hiring, and he actually brought me an application. So the rest is history. It's your fault, sir. Real cool thing I want to point out, I'm peeking to make sure we don't have more, but my first two FTOs were the deputy chief and the chief. Learned a lot from those guys, and I take some great skill set, some great ideas from them. Unfortunately, I inherited a nickname from the chief, but that's all right. We'll go with that. But over those years, I've learned a lot from being a detective, being an officer, and working with all these men and women back here. And I'm really looking forward to going to nights. It's going to be an interesting challenge. But
This is on tape, by the way.
Okay.
Are you sure?
I'll tell you, when we talk about the good times, we talk about the fun we have, we all refer to how much camaraderie and all the good times we had, and a lot of them go back to the night shift. So there's many stories, good and bad, but even when you talk to a retired person, you ask them what they miss. They miss that camaraderie. They miss the people. And I know when they say that, they mean us together. So I really look forward to building a team. I know there's some of my squad here. We're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to be safe. We're going to get the bad guys off the street, and we're going to go home at the end of our shifts. So thank you for this opportunity.
Well, Sergeant Frank, before you get out of here, you get the Walk of Fame coming around, or shame, however you want to call it. So, but I think something for the commission too, when you have this much of a turnout with not only on duty but off duty, it's to me, it's just that sign of the greatest respect for who you are as a person, not just as an officer and as a leader. So thank you for all you do, and we'll take your walk up here. right. Thank you all for coming, staying for the riveting part of the night here. We'll transition next to the consent agenda. Any questions on the expenditures? I'll look for a motion to approve the expenditures then in the amount of $638,951.15.
I'll make a motion.
Motion for Commissioner Heisinger,
I'll support.
support Commissioner Kent. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, we are passed. Next is Resolution 20-557, the Northridge Special Assessment District, number 4, and draft roll. We covered this in our Committee of the Whole meeting at 6:30. Are there any other further questions or dialogue on this? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make the motion.
Motion Commissioner Glanville, support.
I'll support.
Support from Commissioner DeShane. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Resolution 20-557 is passed. Next is first reading of Ordinance PR 20-512. It's the ordinance to amend the zoning ordinance to rezoning existing lot at 4346 Leonard Street Northwest. We had dialogue on this as well in our Committee of the Whole meeting. Are there any other questions or discussions on this? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion for approval for the first reading of Ordinance PR 20-512.
I'll make a motion.
Motion Commissioner Heisinger, support.
I'll support.
Any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? First reading of Ordinance PR 20-512 is passed. Next on the list is any other public comment on items not on the agenda? Going once, going twice? Oh, we do. There we go. Good evening. And the red light's on, so you are live there.
All right, my name is Laura St. Louis. I work with Disability Advocates of Kent County, and I haven't had an opportunity to come to one of your meetings, so I'm here tonight just to introduce myself and to personally invite all of you to Disability Awareness Day, which will be held March 27th at the Kroc Center on South Division. It's going to be, the theme of the morning is looking back, moving ahead, and basically looking at where we've come over the past 30 years and where we want to go in the future. So if you guys can make it, we'd love to have you there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Laura. And you were at the chamber breakfast this morning, correct?
Yes, I was.
Okay, I got it now. All right. Any other public comment then? All right. Commissioner, City Manager comments we have covered. Is there anything else for the good of the order?
Did you want to decide on March 16th or night?
Oh,
Since
so
that
next
would
on
be
our
our
list.
next meeting?
So we'd already taken March 9th off the slate. We have nothing at this point with 16th, barring something that's an unforeseen circumstance. So I'll entertain discussion at this point to adjourn our meeting schedule until the next one of March 23rd. I think we're good because we have nothing. Finance will be in their mix, but it won't be ready before the 23rd, so.
I think that sounds just fine.
Okay, good. No motion.
I second it.
No motion needed, but sarcasm was so noted. Thank you. All right, I will entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting then.
Make that motion.
Motion from Commissioner Gilbert,